Okay, guys, I am back with a delicious, sticky, sweet, and spicy Chinese chicken. If you're anything like me and my family, you are a huge fan of Chinese food, from spicy chicken and egg rolls to sushi, noodles, soups, and everything in between. So it is imperative that I bring you some of my favorite Chinese restaurant inspired dishes like this one. Now, I've just taken some boneless, skinless chicken breast tenderloins, and you see that tissue, that tendon that runs down the tenderloin? I'm going to show you how to remove this so that your chicken is super tender. So, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a fork and you're going to find that tendon. There'll be a piece of it sticking out. It's rubbery, it's very hard, and it's not something you want to chew on. And I'm going to put it through the prongs of a fork. Grab it with a paper towel because that way it's not slippery, and then push down on the fork and that tendon comes right out. After I've removed all of the tendons from my chicken, then I'm just going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. I, of course, am cutting it into the same size pieces that I would find at my local Chinese restaurant. Now, this dish is a huge hit with all of my family members, and that's saying something because the level of pickiness in our house is astronomical. And since it is one of their favorite dishes, specifically referring to the crispy coating and the chicken, I've discovered a lot of ways to swap the sauces to make different varieties. Sometimes I make a sweet and sour sauce instead of a sweet and spicy sauce to coat the chicken, and with that variation, I like to add some bell pepper for a crunch, and I use pineapple juice and ketchup to get the perfect sweet and sour sauce. Now, while my oil is heating up, I put some avocado oil in a large skillet. I just seasoned my chicken with onion powder and garlic powder. I am not going to use any salt here because our sauce has plenty of salt. And what I'm going to do is dredge each piece of chicken in cornstarch, and then I'm going to shallow fry it or pan fry it. So I'm going to cook it on each side until it becomes a little bit golden brown and crispy. Now, I'm from Louisiana and I live in the South, so we always use flour for our frying, but in Chinese food, they use cornstarch. Unless it's a tempura batter, and that's completely different. So with this recipe, I continue my goal, which is to make restaurant and ethnic dishes less intimidating to the home cook. So often, people are unfamiliar with the ingredients or cooking methods for some of their favorite restaurant dishes, which keeps them in an endless cycle of eating out to enjoy them. And while it is fun every now and then to go out and have a night on the town and not to have to cook your own meal, the truth is it's not very sustainable. It's not budget friendly, and in my case, it's not even near me. I am literally 20 minutes from the nearest eatery, and even then, I'm very limited in what's available, and Chinese food is not. So the remedy for this problem? Make these dishes in the comfort of your own kitchen. It will save you time, money, it will be fresh, and you can tweak it to your specific liking if needed. So after I pan fry all of my chicken pieces, which by the way, I think I had to do it in 3 different batches, then I like to drain it on a paper towel lined cutting board. This just gets the excess grease off of the chicken. Now here are a couple of tips and tricks. If you do want crispier chicken, you can definitely deep fry the chicken, but I prefer to shallow fry my chicken because I want to make this entire dish in one skillet. In just a second, I'll remove whatever oil is left, I'll wipe it out, and I'll make my sauce directly in it. Tip number 2, if you don't have cornstarch, you can substitute it with self-rising flour. Just be aware that cornstarch is the norm in traditional Chinese cooking. And if you want to make your chicken extra crispy, you can dip them in panko breadcrumbs. It's not necessarily traditional, but it is delicious. But you might need to make an egg mixture to get those larger breadcrumbs to stick to your chicken. After frying all my chicken pieces, I removed the oil, wiped out the skillet, and now I'm adding my ingredients for my sauce. I've added some water, some hoisin, some oyster sauce, some brown sugar. I'm about to add some soy sauce and a little bit of lemon juice. After I whisk all of that together, then I'm going to add my sriracha for a little bit of spice. Now, you can add heat several different ways to this dish. If you don't want it spicy, you don't have to add this at all, but you can add more than 3 tablespoons if you want it extra spicy. A couple of different ways that you can get heat in here without changing the flavor would be some cayenne pepper if you really want to go strong, but I think red pepper flakes would be perfect. I'm going to let my sauce come to a boil and then let it simmer for about 3 to 4 minutes until it just starts to get thick and sticky. And then it's time to add back all of our fried chicken pieces. Using my tongs, I'm going to toss the chicken in the sauce until it's all completely covered. And the last tip that I'm going to give you, I did mention earlier, but I think it's worth mentioning again. I do not salt my chicken when it's raw before I cook it because this sauce is already salty enough. This sauce is actually going to taste a little bit too salty when you taste it as you're cooking it, but once you add the chicken, it's absolutely perfect. To finish off the dish, I love to sprinkle it with a generous amount of sesame seeds because it is so pretty and you get that little bit of flavor and a little bit of crunch, and then of course some fresh green onions. As always, the complete recipe can be found on my blog. The link is in the description below. You have to make this one, guys. You have to.